All right, guys, what's up? Welcome to the UFC talk. We're going to basically talk about the upcoming UFC fight. We were all a little heartbroken last week with there being nothing on the schedule, so we're happy to be back with you guys this week talking about stock prices of this weekend's UFC Fight Night. Here with Jackson and Grant. Grant looking kind of shady with that hat bill up there. What's going on, guys?
Yeah, what's going on up there, Grant?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, no.
Good weekend off. Focus on football a little bit more and get some time away from the sport. But we're back now. Obviously, a huge group of main cards that we will see before the end of the year. But we have just a fight night here. A few interesting fights.
For sure. David, you want to go into the prelim fight you wanted to discuss?
Sure, yeah. So Chris Gutierrez and Montel Jackson, that is a pretty interesting one. Bantamweight is hot right now. I know Montel Jackson is a super hot prospect. And Chris Gutierrez is someone who's been looking pretty on lately. I think he may have lost his last one by a decision, but overall, he's a super strong prospect, and this is definitely one to be looking out for on the prelims, just because I don't have both their prices pulled up right now. I know that they're both going to be under $2 for sure, maybe even under $1, and they definitely have some potential to be up there, top 15, very soon.
For sure.
And then I guess we'll just transition to the main card from here. And then
to start off, we have Alexander Hernandez, also known as the Great Ape. He is 5-4 in the UFC. And we have Bill Algeo, who is 4-3 in the UFC. So a couple guys that are around that kind of 500 mark. Little bit of journeyman here. Hernandez is 31 and Algeo is 34. How do you guys see this one coming out?
This one, I do like it a lot. It's crazy to hear Hernandez referred to as a journeyman, just because I remember when this kid was, hot on the market. He was about to get the marketing machine behind him, and then lost to not Daniel.
He lost to Cerrone, I think.
Donald Cerrone, that's right. I don't know why I thought his name was Daniel. And then it was just kind of really down and ups and downs since then. And Bill Algeo, just a vet. So definitely an interesting fight. Do either of you have Hernandez's stock price pulled up?
I don't. I can get that for you if you want to just keep talking, and I'll find it.
Right. My internet's being weird with my website, but I imagined, I think people may just forget how young Alexander Hernandez is. So I do think there's got to be some value on his name, just with the way his record has gone lately.
95 cents.
95 cents, under $1. That, to me, that is highly valuable. And Hernandez, how do you guys feel about this one? I could be way off.
I think I do like where your head's at. It's a good value play. I think this is going to be a super exciting fight. And at the end of the day, I'm not really confident on either side. For me, Hernandez is coming back down to 145 after fighting at 155. So, I think he's going to look big and strong for the division. But I will say he's a better wrestler than Algeo, but I don't really think he's going to incorporate that into his fight tonight too much. I think it's going to be more of a stand and bang type of fight. And I kind of see the veteran Algeo coming through and showing he's a, powerful volume striker, lands 6 strikes per minute. I think just, he's got a good center of gravity. I think his veteran play and his volume striking and power is, it's going to win it if they keep it on the feet. So I'm going to go with Algeo here for the KO potential. And
I like there that you noted that Hernandez has gone back and forth. That does raise an eyebrow a little bit. What's going on, bud?
For sure.
Yeah, he beat Dariush in his first fight, and since
that was impressive.
Kind of
bizarre.
Chaos. I'm going to stick with Jackson here and lean Algeo. It seems like he also has more potential for a submission. He has more in the UFC than Hernandez does. I mean, I would just take the value here and potential finish and take a shot in the dark here and roll with him.
Yeah, I'm not super high confidence on this one for me personally, but so I think I think it could go either way.
Yeah.
Fair enough, boys. All right, going into our next fight of the evening, we got Ian Cutelaba versus Philip Lins. This is a pretty interesting fight. Cutelaba, also known as this is a guy that paints himself green and sometimes comes out to the weigh-ins as the Hulk. He can be pretty intense. I don't know if you guys have seen him any of his late walkouts, but they're pretty hardcore.
How are you guys? Style.
Yeah, just like his fighting style. I did see that he's been training with Eric Nixick. I think he's still at that camp, and since he's been there, he's definitely looked a lot more patient, a little sharper. And I haven't seen Philip Lins fight as frequently, so I lean Ian on that one. But how do you guys feel about this one?
I think I would tend to agree with you and lean Eon. Like I just don't think Lins is great, but I don't really think he's had nearly as tough of a strength of schedule throughout his UFC career. Cutelaba, it kind of looks like his chin is a little bit weak. He is coming off a great early victory over Tanner Boser, but he can definitely get knocked out, and he looks to come in and just knock you out cold. Like he does not want the fight to go to decision. He's coming out grappling more so than swinging almost. But I think Cutelaba on this one.
Same.
Yeah, I'll stay there with you as well. I mean, he's only 29 and he's fought a lot in the UFC for a guy of his age.
That's
he's
wild.
Super up and down, but I'm going to be wanting to root for the guy that's going to go out there and throw punches and try to get him on the ground and be really the one pushing the pace. He has not had a ton of fights recently. He fought in April, but before that, it was like 7 months or so. Lins has fought already twice in 2023. So a little bit of rest versus rust, I guess. But you said that he's been working with a new camp, and since then he's won a fight. So I will stick with Cutelaba here and just hope for a finish, like you guys were talking about.
Right on. Let's see. Next fight coming up. This is a good one. Drew Dober, one of our old friends, fighting Rick Glenn. Drew Dober, a record of 26-12. Rick Glenn, 22-7-2. I'm a big Drew Dober fan, so I think it's pretty obvious which way I'm going to lean on this one. Rick Glenn, I'm not as familiar with, but I bet there's some value on his name. Do you guys know a little bit more about Rick? I'm pretty unfamiliar with this guy.
Well, let's see what his prediction strike price is here. Right now, Ricky Glenn is sitting at 75 cents, whereas Drew Dober is sitting at $1.59. So pretty huge value for Glenn here. I agree with you. I think Dober is going to win this. Hopefully, I mean, the only thing to kind of keep an eye on, I would say, in Dober for me is if his chin has recovered from the steamroll and knockout in his last fight. Like that was pretty rough. But Dober's young, and so hopefully his chin's recovered. He likes to get inside the pocket, whereas Ricky Glenn likes to stay outside. So I think if he overwhelms him, he's got a great chance at victory.
Totally.
Yeah, we see pretty opposite styles here. Ricky Glenn, in almost all of his fights in the UFC, aside from 2 out of 9, have ended by decision. So we see him really trying to just hold the pace and try to point out his opponent. Whereas we see with Dober, almost all of his fights, either way they go, are ending in some sort of submission or knockout. So 2 kind of contrasting styles here. I will tend to lean with Dober. I think his resume obviously fights against Islam and Terrence McKinney and Frivola and Beneil and guys that are really close to the top of this division, or at least guys with big names here. So I think he's going to be a lot more ready for the moment, and I will lean Dober with you guys as well.
Hell yeah.
Right on. I'll let one of you guys introduce the next fight.
Okay, so the next fight is Morono versus Buckley. Morono is coming off of a submission win, and Buckley is coming off of a very successful welterweight debut. Morono's a BJJ black belt, but doesn't really overly involve his wrestling game. He's a pretty underrated wrestler, I would say, in terms of his UFC career. Buckley is a super powerful striker who likes to come in hot. He had a really nice KO against Fialho, which in his last fight, which was a cause for hope for Buckley. For me, generally, I think Buckley has just been getting better and better, and I think he's becoming like a little bit less of a headhunter than he used to be in the UFC, and is kind of like waiting for his KOs a little bit more, and is a bit more patient, more experienced fighter. On the other side, though, if this gets to the mat, it's done. So I have a hard time leaning either way here. But, if Morono doesn't incorporate his wrestling enough, it's going to be Buckley, I think. So I'm going to lean that way.
That's fair. I think with this one, Alex Morono is one of those guys that's, if you just look at both of the fighters, he's really easy to look past. There's not, it's not much to write home about, but he's sneaky good. And Joaquin Buckley, as you said, definitely has shown some improvement. I think this is going to be one where it's, Morono by decision. If it goes to decision, Alex Morono takes it. If it's early, it's probably Buckley. This one is really tough to pick. For whatever reason, I'm leaning Alex Morono on this one, just because he's very consistent with what he brings to the table every time. And, Joaquin Buckley is sometimes looking for knockouts, sometimes extending the fight. I just kind of never know with him. So I'm leaning Alex Morono on this one.
Is Buckley the dude that got his foot caught and then did that spinning kick?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. He's the kind of fighter I like that seems to come out hot. Like Jackson said, almost all of his fights are ending by a knockout in some sort. He's again fought a lot of great fighters. He fought Kevin Holland. Obviously had a great fight last time he was out against Fialho. And he's just the kind of guy that I want to root for. He's 29. Super exciting, it seems like. So he's the kind of guy that the UFC is going to really back if things start to go well for him. So I'm going to hope he gets a win here and then can string together a couple more, and hopefully he's in the good graces of the company and he kind of flies up the rankings a little bit.
Rock on. Okay. All right. Who's introducing our next guy, who is our friend? I'll introduce him. Joe Pyfer, man. Big Guns Joe Pyfer versus Abdul Razak Al Hassan, which is another
Thunder.
Yeah, super strong dude. What do you guys think about this one?
He actually lost to Buckley, who we talked about in the last fight, a little over a year ago. And just kind of by the transitive property, I think that Pyfer I would take over Buckley in almost all scenarios. And if Abdul is losing to Buckley here, I'm going to have to lean Pyfer. Pyfer, obviously a great fighter in his own right, and I think he keeps that going. I think he's a huge consensus favorite in this one, but I think there's probably still some value in prediction strike for future bouts if you get in right now on Joe Pyfer.
Yeah, I think I would agree with you. Like I was talking about headhunting a little bit with Buckley, and I think Al Hassan is a good example of like a fighter who kind of still does that and hasn't really gravitated away from coming out to kill like that sort of. And I think Joe Pyfer is a little bit more collected and will be patient with his striking. It is a 5-round fight, so like gas is going to be a component here. We're going to see like if either of these guys get gas. We haven't really seen Pyfer in a long drawn out fight like this, so that's going to be interesting to see. But he's put together a super nice string of wins after breaking his arm on Dana White Contender Series. I like what I've seen from him. My only concern is really the cardio in 5 rounds, and I got Pfeiffer.
Yeah, I got Piper for sure. He's just too much of a freight train. Abdul Razak, good, but again, like you guys already mentioned, Headhunter, inconsistent, sometimes super low volume, just because he is only looking for that headshot. And Joe Piper's just way too well rounded. I think he's going to get a highlight win here for Joe Piper.
Love to see it. Our last fight of the night is Grant Dawson versus Bobby Green. We have pretty opposite kind of profiles here. Bobby Green, 37 years old. Grant Dawson, 29 years old. Grant Dawson undefeated in the UFC. His one non-win was a draw against Ricky Glenn, who we had touched on before. Obviously, he hasn't fought the greatest of competition just because he's new to the company. Whereas Bobby Green has fought a bit of everyone in the UFC. He's fought Islam. He's fought Fiziev. Tony Ferguson, who he won a fight against in his last fight, lost to Drew Dober. So just kind of all over the place here in terms of experience. How do you guys see this one turning out?
Can you pull up Grant Dawson's price? I mean, I'm just going to say it outright. I like Grant Dawson in this fight. Bobby Green does have a much better strength of schedule as far as who he's faced. But $2.09 on Grant Dawson. You know,
Bobby Green's 171.
171.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't want to, but I feel like I'm fading Bobby Green on this one, even though he's one of my favorite characters in the UFC. Grant Dawson is someone that I see definitely top 10 easily very soon. Super strong wrestler, super well-rounded, great on the mic, motivated, young. I think Grant Dawson is the long play for me.
Yeah, I think it has to be Dawson here as well. I mean, a long time ago, might have said Bobby Green. It's kind of one of those fights. But like, you know, Bobby Green is kind of just like he's a technical striker. Yeah, like he can get you in a TKO later on, but he's not the same fighter he used to be. Really, he hasn't mixed in like a single takedown, I think, in the last like 4 years or something. Grant Dawson is hungry and he's going to be pressuring for those takedowns the entire fight. He's not going to be willing to just stand there and like let Bobby get all technical on him and swing how he wants to swing. And I don't think Bobby is going to be willing to he's been good on the mat in the past. I just don't think he's anywhere near Grant Dawson's level at this point in his career. So I got Dawson.
Yeah, I think this one could end early. I think we could see Green start to get a little frustrated and not really be able to land much, and we see him either end on the mat or by punches in the air, but we'll see. I will definitely lean Dawson as well with you guys. I think that's the easy pick here.
Would be sweet to see Bobby Green win, though.
That would be tight.
Yeah.
That would be tight. Always a great post-fight interview from Bobby Green.
For sure.
All right, man. Well, that wraps up this weekend's fight card. It's definitely going to be an exciting one. It's also a free one on ESPN Plus, which is awesome. So everyone go enjoy the fight. Those are some great short-term and long-term plays on there. So yeah, pay attention. Download Prediction Strike. It's a great alternate, and makes sports a lot more fun.
See you next fight night.
See you guys next week.
Deuces.